What's up, everybody? So, in this video, we're going to be talking about the difference between pen testing versus bug bounty hunting. And it is a question I get asked all the time. So, I'm happy to actually put this down into a video and really squash the differences of what a pen tester might be looking for versus what a bug bounty hunter might be looking for. So, let's go ahead and dive in. So, what's the difference? Well, honestly, impact. And I say that because that is really the goal of a bug bounty. And you're going to see that later on in this video as we start looking at what are the little things maybe a pen tester might look for that the bug bounty hunter has no care in the world about. And I say all of this because the bug bounty hunter is looking for impact. If we're looking at something and say there's an application, that application is disclosing something like a service version in a header. It's an IIS application and it says, hey, this is IIS 10.0. Here's our host. Here's our server type, whatever. It gives information disclosure. Go ahead and try to submit that to a bug bounty program, and you're going to find out that they're going to say, what's the impact? I don't really care here. And the reason is there is no impact. A service version disclosure, however, on a pen test is important to note because it could lead to an exploit down the road. Having that information out there and providing that to an attacker is just a piece of the puzzle that they might actually piece together and say, well, I know the infrastructure is this. Maybe I can chain that with another attack related to this infrastructure and I can gain access. But unless there is pure impact off of that, a bug bounty program will not care. Now, change that around to where you have something like cross-site scripting and you can actually execute that against a page or maybe even stored cross-site scripting. Guess what? There's impact there. You might be able to have account takeover or do something very malicious. Now a bug bounty program cares. A pen test cares as well. But what's important is we need to talk about also the goals of a pen test. When I am scoping a pen test, the biggest goal for us is what is the customer need? Is the customer after you obtaining some sort of sensitive information like social security numbers or PII, personally identifiable information, or something along those lines? Are they doing it for strict compliance purposes where they're looking at like something like PCI, which is credit card related, or high trust, or SOC 2, or any of those? Are they doing this because they want to have good security? They actually care about security. Or, are they just looking for that checkbox? So it's really, really important to understand the customer needs. And the big difference about a pen test too, from a bug bounty perspective, is you have a bug bounty and you put the bug bounty online. That bug bounty is going to be online for a long time. Good chances are it could be a forever thing, right? You see something like a Facebook. Facebook's always doing bug bounty. Well, something like a application that's getting tested from a pen test perspective might only get tested for a week long. And you have this week to find all the vulnerabilities that you could possibly find for a compliance purpose or for a customer need. And it could be a money thing too, because paying out bug bounties over time gets really expensive where, you might just do one pen test and call it a day. So when we're talking the difference between a pen test and a bug bounty might have something like 10,000 or 100,000 eyes on one individual web application. Where you're looking at a pen test, you might have one eye, two eye, three sets of eyes. It really, really just depends. So you're going to get a lot more depth from a bug bounty perspective, but there might still be a need for a pen test. The customer maybe can't afford to have it on a bug bounty. Maybe the customer is against some sort of compliance check where they are doing credit card information and they need to have a pen test for PCI compliance. And most importantly, what does a pen test deliver that is important? And that's a report. So you have a report that you can give to your stakeholders, to your auditors, to anybody that says, hey, somebody came in here and they looked at my application and they said, yeah, this is good, or no, this is bad, but we actually went in there and we fixed this, so now we're okay, right? And that's kind of where the differences really lie. And on top of this, maybe we don't even do a pen test. Maybe there's even something out there called a vulnerability assessment where we just look, or maybe a vulnerability scan, right? Where we just look, we maybe run Nessus or Burp Suite or something, and we just get an idea of what a scanner can find. Now that is purely, typically compliance related, where we are just trying to identify the low hanging fruit, and we don't even get hands-on with exploitation or anything. So the real goals, again, think about it, is what kind of impact can you deliver to a bug bounty program? The pen test, we don't care about impact. We care about what vulnerabilities are there, what even the lowest of lowest vulnerabilities. We want to make sure that we point them out to the customer for security best practices, because you never know what that might lead to in the future. So that is really, really the big difference. And that's what I want you to take away from this. So what we can do now is we can kind of start covering what some of these vulnerabilities look like, and maybe what a impact looks like from a bug bounty perspective, and then what it doesn't look like from a pen test perspective. And kind of I can show you some of the write-ups that I've done in the past where we've gone through and we just look at these nitpicky little things that a bug bounty program won't care about. So let's go ahead and take a look at those. Let's get a little hands-on for the next few minutes. I want to show you a very vulnerable web app that is called OWASP Juice Shop. And I kind of want to show you it as a perspective of a pen tester that is looking for findings. And this is going to differ than that of a bug bounty hunter who's looking specifically for impact. So what I'm going to do is show you some of the low-level findings that wouldn't quite make it onto a bug bounty platform, but that are still relevant in a pen test. So if we look at Juice Shop, and by the way, before we get started, my link here is juiceshop-tcm123.herokuapp.com. This is up 24/7. You are welcome to go utilize this instance. And this is also part of the OWASP Juice Shop project. So if you want to utilize Juice Shop on your own, just Google OWASP Juice Shop and you are welcome to give this a go, install it yourself, and test against this. It's a great learning tool. So back to the application at hand. I've got this web app, and I'm going to utilize a tool for testing called Burp Suite. Now, Burp Suite is just a web proxy. So I can come in here and intercept traffic, filter traffic through this application, and gather data about this web app as I go. So for example, I can turn this little intercept on, hit restart, and then we can see here that I have intercepted this. The page isn't actually loading because it's waiting for me to do something next with this. So I can see a little bit of information here. I can see the cookie that's set. I can see just a little bit of details, where this is going, what the user agent is, what it's accepting. So I can read details here. Now I could forward this off, I could drop it, etc. I can forward and see what the next thing that happens is. It's really nice. And it has a lot of features here for Burp Suite. So I'm going to utilize this in combination with just manual review and kind of look for some things. So when I'm on a website, I might just click around, see if there's anything that stands out to me. When we test websites, we usually test from 3 perspectives. We test from an unauthenticated perspective, which is kind of where we're at right now. If you see there's a login form, so if I were to go click on the login form, we have unauthenticated access at this time. Now we could maybe create an account. You can see there's a create account feature, and then we would have a different role. We would have an authenticated role. And then sometimes, which we'll talk about here in a little bit when we get into scoping, but sometimes the client will actually give us full access, give us credentials, and we'll have credentials to an admin role along with a regular user role. So we'll test 3 different perspectives when we do this, or even more roles if the customer wants that. But for this perspective right now, we're unauthenticated. So we kind of want to check what we can do from an unauthenticated perspective. Now, for a low-level finding, we might search for something like username enumeration here. So for example, if I do something like test@test.com and I just do a password of test123, it says invalid email or password, and that's good. That's what you want to see. We don't want to see, hey, this invalid email, or hey, this is an invalid password. Now we could take this and maybe go to forgot password. And what if we did test@test.com? Well, nothing's happening here on the change. And my guess here, my hunch, is that there's some sort of username enumeration going on. We can prove that too by going back to not yet a customer, maybe creating an account with test@test.com. And we could see here that we could just put password in. And if it lets me put a weak password in, such as test, yes, here we go. It says password must be 5 to 20 characters long. So I'm going to put test1 as a password. This right here is a finding. Let me delete this really quick. This is a finding. You're limiting on one end the amount of characters that you can have, and on the other end, you have a very small amount of characters. It does not take much to brute force 5-character passwords, especially if you're not including any sort of special character or requirements or anything along those lines. but just giving the user freedom to do whatever they want and only requiring 5 characters is just going to set you up for disaster. This would be a finding. 6 would be a finding. In my opinion, 8 would be a finding. Anything under 12 when I do pen testing would be a finding here. So we'll go ahead and create an account, and then we have to have a security question. So we'll just do, what's your mother's maiden name? And I'll just say Bob, and we'll register this account and log in. Okay, now we have a valid account. Let's go to forgot your password. And let's try test@test.com now. Yes, and look, it says, what is your mother's maiden name? Now, this password reset feature, it looks terrible, and you're probably thinking to yourself, why would they be doing this? This happens. You think some things are bad, but this actually happens. This would be a finding. If you see something like this where they're doing a security question as a forgot password feature and they're giving away the security question like this too, this could be something that could be easily Googled. If you know any information about this person, then you just have the ability to reset this here. So we have not only username enumeration, but we also have the security settings here, and we have the weak password policy as well. So that's 3 findings right off the bat. Now, have we done anything with impact? Just because we know the username and we can validate that does not mean that it's impactful yet. Just because we know that there's a weak password policy doesn't mean we've done anything with impact. We're just saying, hey, this could lead to something, not that this has led to something. Same thing with the mother's maiden name or the security question here. It could lead to something, but it hasn't yet. So these are the little details that we start picking up as a pen tester. And we can continue to go through this application. Now I want to go and log in as this user. So I'm just going to say test@test.com and test1 as a password. And then I'm going to actually go in here and intercept this, log in, and I want to send this to what is called repeater. I'm going to repeat this and just send it away without actually sending it. Okay, and we get an authentication token here, and it gives it to us, and that's good. And then I want to go now to the website and just kind of turn the intercept off, see what happens, maybe turn the intercept back on and click on something like your basket, come here, and I just want to see what's going on in here. Do we have any cookies set? We do have cookies set. We have a token in here. We don't have any sort of protection on these cookies or this token. So we don't have anything that is like a secure flag or an HTTP only flag. And those are things that we would look for too, because if somebody can pull off something like cross-site scripting, then they could just pull down all this information without any protections against it. So we need to be on the lookout for these flags. Again, no impact. We haven't done anything with cross-site scripting. We haven't stolen a token, but the capability of that token being stolen is there. Some other stuff that we look at too are the security headers. So I've already come out here and done this ahead of time, but securityheaders.com or securityheaders.io, you come in here and you put in your website and you scan it. And we're looking back for not only the grade, but what headers do they have set and what is set correctly. So you can see this website has content type options and frame options set correctly, but it's missing a bunch of other options. And it comes in here and it shows you the raw headers and where they're seeing green. And then it's showing you yellow where it thinks there's a security misconfiguration. And it comes in here and says, hey, this is how you should be setting or what you should be setting on these servers, and you're not doing it. This is something that I would absolutely point out to a client. And it's just more of the same. There isn't impact here yet, like this content security policy. It says it's an effective measure to protect your site from cross-site scripting. Okay, so it's not on. We don't have as many measures to protect from cross-site scripting, and this being off doesn't help, but this isn't cross-site scripting. So again, there's no impact, but there's potential to be impact from other exploits. Another thing that we look at would be something like the Qualys SSL lab. So we would come in here and just look at the ciphers and protocols and certificates for a website. And I did a quick scan of Juice Shop here. And it kind of tells you, hey, you've got a B rating. So the certificate's good, it's 100%. Protocol support needs work. The key exchange, it's green, but could maybe use a little bit of work as well. You come through here, you scan this out, and you can see where the weak cipher suites are too. So if we saw this on a pen test, we would absolutely write this up. There's a nice little nmap script for this too that you can run, and it kind of spits out a grade just similar to Qualys. So very interesting. And again, something that we would run for a client that here there is no impact, but we would report this if we saw this on a pen test. So hopefully you're starting to get the feel for this and understanding, hey, there's things out there, and that's the point where I want you to be at right now. There are things out there that aren't exploitable yet, but could lead to an exploit in the future, could lead to impact in the future, and the pen tester must identify those. Let's talk about what a pen tester sees. What do I see in my eyes that a bug bounty hunter is just not looking for? And this isn't a all-inclusive list by any means, but it's something that I think about and some things that you've already seen. But for example, outdated software. If I see outdated software, any sort of outdated version information, I'm going to report that back to you. There might not be a direct exploit today, but maybe tomorrow or maybe a week from now or a year from now, that might have an exploit related to it. Weak or insecure methods. Let's think about the trace method, for example. Trace by itself, it's all right, but I'm going to report it because if we find something like cross-site scripting, then we can combine that into cross-site tracing. But a bug bounty hunter doesn't care about that unless they can pull off the cross-site tracing and have impact. Now, when we talk about clear text protocols, such as Telnet or HTTP, if you're running a website on HTTP and it doesn't redirect to HTTPS, or I can make it run on HTTP, I'm going to tell you about it. Ciphers and protocols, this is a big one, especially if you run Nessus or something against a website, or even like a Qualys SSL. You can run that against a website, pull down what the ciphers are running, and if you're using weak ciphers, then I'm going to tell you about it. Bug bounty hunters, never going to do that. Expired, invalid certificates, same thing. Basic authentication, same thing. Brute forcing, no CAPTCHA, that's a big one, especially if we can combine that with a no lockout policy. And even username enumeration. Let me kind of play a different scenario to you, or a couple different scenarios. If I have the ability to brute force and I know that there is account enumeration and there's no timeout, no lockout, no CAPTCHA, then I can brute force all day long. And if you give me enough time, you have a weak password policy, I'm breaking in. It's just a matter of time. I'm going to break in. If there's no detection against that, I'm going to break in. Now, another situation that I've come across, and you're going to see in the next video or upcoming videos, is that there was a situation where, what if you have a user account enumeration and you do have a lockout policy, but that lockout policy isn't a timed lockout policy. That lockout policy is a permanent lockout policy until somebody goes and lets you in. What does that create? That creates a denial of service. Again, this is what a pen tester sees. If I can enumerate your accounts and your lockout policy doesn't exist or is weak and I can cause denial of service, that's bad too. So these are just the little things. Cookies not expiring or session fixation. So if I log out and that cookie doesn't expire, that's not good. Or if you're given the same cookie ID or cookie value when you log in or log out, etc., and you have session fixation, not good either. A bug bounty program, not going to care about it. So I'm just repeating this over and over and over so you understand. What are we after? We're after impact. Impact as a bug bounty hunter. Pen tester, we have to see the broad scope of things. And a bug bounty hunter might only focus, like some of the really good ones, only focus on certain exploits, very particular exploits. Maybe they're masters of a certain exploit, where a pen tester kind of has to know that broad range of all of them. Now, doesn't mean the bug bounty hunter or the pen tester one's better than the other, but they have to look through different scopes. They have to look at it differently. And as long as you understand that when you are doing a pen test, you have to include all the little details, you have to write a report about it, and make sure the customer knows, because one day these could turn into a bigger vulnerability than what they are now, even if they are low level. That's important. And that a bug bounty hunter, they want to get paid. They want the most money they can get. So they're going to seek the biggest impact that they can get out of a bug hunt. Now, I've gone into all these differences between the bug bounty hunter and the pen tester. And we talk impact, right? It's still important as a pen tester to hunt the impact. Just because I show you all these other little things that a bug bounty hunter doesn't look for, doesn't mean that the pen tester is not also looking for the same things a bug bounty hunter is looking for. The pen tester is chasing these little items, but we're also chasing the impact. So don't get lost just in the little items. Make sure that you're also looking for those OWASP top 10. You're looking for the critical bugs. You're trying to get as much impact. We want to make sure at the end of the day that the client we are testing is completely secure, not just from a low level perspective and these little nitpicky items, but also from the critical perspective and the impact perspective, because we want to make sure that our client is safe before potentially somebody else goes in there and maliciously finds these vulnerabilities. All right, and lastly, let's talk about scoping and the type of tests you might see as a pen tester. So, with us being on HackerOne and thinking about bug bounties and pen testing, we're going to be looking at web applications. Now, you probably have a decent understanding of a web application, but if you're newer to this, think of something like maybe a medical device or medical application where a nurse is logging into that application. And the nurse can log in and the nurse sees all of her patients. And there's another nurse and she sees all of her patients. And maybe there's a super admin that can see everybody's patients. Well, it'd be very bad if a nurse can log in and run an exploit and take over the entire application, or see sensitive patient information, or just run exploits that could abuse features of the applications in a way that they were not intended, logically or however else. And that's kind of what we're after with web apps. We're trying to see, can we be malicious with them? And that kind of rolls over into mobile, where you have a mobile application, and we're going to test that maybe on an iOS or an Android device. And both web apps and mobile utilize APIs. Remember those waiters that go out and do things for us. Now, there's also other types of testing out there. There are desktops. So if you think of executables or binaries and trying to exploit those, there's infrastructure, which is personally one of my favorites, where you have internal and external. External being you're on the outside trying to break into the inside of a company. You can be anywhere you imagine yourself to be and you're trying to break in. One of the most fun assessments that are out there. Internal, even more fun in my opinion. You're already inside of a network. You assume breach in some way or another. And you're likely up against maybe Active Directory or something along those lines. And you're trying to take over a domain controller, or you're trying to retrieve some sort of sensitive data, proprietary information. You're navigating your way around a network. Super, super fun stuff, especially from a pen test perspective. Of course, there are others. There's ATMs out there that you can pen test. There's hardware, IoT, wireless pen testing. There's red teaming, which is even more advanced type of this kind of stuff. So it really does get broad, and there are lots of things out there that you can test. With this being HackerOne, you're likely going to see web app related, some mobile, some API, even some infrastructure, maybe occasionally desktop and others. So just wanted to make you aware of the type of tests that you might be seeing. On top of that, we should talk about scoping. Every pen test has a scope. Now, there are different types of scopes, and you might hear something along the lines of a black box versus a gray box or a white box. A black box test or scope means that you have no knowledge whatsoever. I've been on pen test engagements before where the client gave me their name. That's it. They said, hey, here is our name. This is the corporation I want you to attack, and I want you to do whatever you can to get into that organization. That's a black box. You have no information. They were not given IP addresses. You were not given websites. Nothing about that. Now, a gray box is maybe something where they give you a little bit more information. They don't give you all the information, but you might have some. You might be privy to a little bit of the information to as websites, IP addresses, infrastructure, and even credentials. And then moving on to white box, where you have all the things you already have from gray box, but then you add into that the ability to have full access to the source code. So you have full access to everything when you have a white box assessment. Now, there are pros and cons to each side, where if you're given information, obviously you're given a leg up. And if you have black box, you are acting as if you were a hacker that's just trying to attack them. However, the black box might take more time, be more time consuming. If you're on a limited pen test, might be a disadvantage, where a white box, you might be able to see the vulnerabilities that are there because you're not trying to discover information, spend time there. You have knowledge of infrastructure and can find them. So some companies hold different values on how they want scoping, but you should be aware of those three different types. On top of that, it's very, very important to talk about the importance of scoping itself. You're going to be given a scope. Likely you're going to be given a website, IP address, whatever to test against. It is super important that you stay within the scope of your engagement. If your pen test scoping says, hey, do not do any denial of service, then do not run any attack that might cause a denial of service. If it says, hey, do not run any sort of injection attacks, then you better not be running injection attacks. Your scoping is your legal agreement with the company. When you agree to perform the pen test and they say, do not do this, only attack this website, only attack this infrastructure, make sure you are following those guidelines. If you go out of scope, you are entering dangerous territory. So make sure you understand the importance of scoping. Make sure you read the scope thoroughly before you begin testing, and ensure the website you are testing and or IP you are testing or application you are testing actually belongs to the client. Make sure that there are no typos, nothing along those lines, because if you end up pen testing another website without permission, that's also bad on you. So be very careful with scoping, make sure you understand the importance, and read everything thoroughly so that you do not go out of scope. So that is it for this video. My name is the Cyber Mentor, and I thank you for joining me.